Welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence Thursday night creator convo. My name is Noelle Marshall, and along with my husband, Bob Warner, we call ourselves Light Partners. And part of our mission as Light Partners is being, I guess you'd say, mom and pop for the Co-Creators Convergence. And what the Co-Creators Convergence was started by, well, I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to just show a very short video that'll tell you all about the Co-Creators Convergence. We're a wonderful group. All are invited. And hold on just 1 second. And let's roll them. So that's a little bit about us in 1.1 minute. So tonight, I'm so happy to have my dear friend and one of our major Co-Creators Convergence co-creators, Kathy Mason, with us on Mason Works Marketing. And Kathy is going to bring to us tonight Dr. Pamela Gerali, who has a very wonderful book that's just coming out. But she did a lot more before she wrote this book, and we're going to find out about that too. So many gifts, and so happy that you're both here. So Kathy, I would like you to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to you and look forward to an opening prayer, centering, and then we're going to enjoy this conversation. Welcome everyone. Very excited about our guest tonight. And with that, I'm going to bid you all adieu. I'm going to be listening and with you, and let's have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you, Noelle and Bob, and all of our co-creators that are watching this now and are with us right now, and who are watching the replay, because I think you're going to really enjoy this this time together tonight, and hopefully it will be memorable and a beginning for you to go on this journey with Dr. Pamela. But first, what we want to do is start a centering. And what I usually do is read the Akashic records in order to get us all, in this space and feeling open and ready to receive the divine gifts that are coming through. So what I do is I read this 3 times, and usually then I ask for masters, teachers, and guides, and open the records for all of us. So here we go. We align with our divine primordial blueprint with guidance from the Galactic Akashic records in all dimensions. All aspects of self are here now. All universal and celestial information and all important memories for our highest good and guidance are available to us now. We have access to all stellar wisdom of light now, delivered by the Galactic Akashic Record Keepers in reverence for the well-being of all life, and so it is. We align with our divine primordial blueprint with guidance from the Galactic Akashic records in all dimensions. All aspects of self are here now. All universal and celestial information and all important memories for our highest good and guidance are available to us now. We have access to all stellar wisdom of light now, delivered by the Galactic Akashic record keepers in reverence for the well-being of all life, and so it is. We align with our divine primordial blueprint with guidance from the Galactic Akashic records in all dimensions. All aspects of self are here now. All universal and celestial information and all important memories for our highest good and guidance are available to us now. We have access to all stellar wisdom of light now, delivered by the Galactic Akashic record keepers in reverence for the well-being of all life. And so it is. Masters, teachers, and guides, please show us what we need to know. Okay, we're into the records. So should add a new dimension to everything that we do tonight. So it is my divine pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Pamela Gerali, who over 10 years ago was inspired and gifted a process called the Blueprint for the Human Spirit. And she's going to explain that process and how you can use it to empower yourself, as well as offer us an activity tonight that will help us embody it and see the fun of it. Because of course, the higher frequency, the higher dimensional work is joyful. So with that, I don't want to take any more time. Welcome, 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 Pamela.
Thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm so excited to be here and to share the blueprint for the human spirit. But first, I want to just mention that I'm especially excited to be here on the Co-Creators Convergence because I have a little bit of a history with Barbara Marks Hubbard. Back in 2004, I created and I was facilitating a women's group at Unity of Naples. And Barbara was our guest speaker for a whole day, an awesome women's retreat called Evolve. And I had a chance to show her around Naples, where I live, and to bring her up to date with what I was doing. I shared with her a little bit about the blueprint, and she says, "Oh, we're both map makers." And she later, during that time, invited me to work with her and to become one of her outreach people, which I declined because I wanted to focus on the blueprint, but I was very honored. And then she wrote a quote for my first book, Higher Tea, The Essence of Joy. So I was very excited that she would do that for me, but I deeply feel connected to her, although I wasn't one of her formal students. I enjoyed all of her books and things, but anyways, I just had to share that I have that connection.
Do you want me to show the picture?
Sure, you can show the picture. I have a picture here of us. Now, Barbara never changed, but I certainly aged since that time, 2004. Thank you. That's
sure.
Enough.
Sure.
Okay, well, I am also very excited to share with you a little bit about how I came to be here in this moment and to receive the blueprint for the human spirit. My life began in a very small town in northwestern Pennsylvania, in a very fundamental home, a very fundamental legalistic Christian church. And there was nothing in the religion that I was raised in that felt like it was positive or loving. If they said God is love, I never heard it, because I heard how I was supposed to fear God and how I was supposed to toe the line. And there were so many thou shalt nots that I had a difficult time trying to be Little Miss Perfect. So I was afraid of everything and everyone, and especially God. But eventually I left that all behind, went to college, pursued a degree in nursing, and had an amazing career in public health, got a master's in public health after that. And I had a chance to hold a number of really amazing progressive leadership positions in nonprofit health-related organizations, including the American Cancer Society, the Oncology Nursing Society, and Prevent Blindness America. So it was all very exciting, and I loved my work. In fact, I felt really good about what I accomplished, but something was always missing. And I had the chance when I worked for Prevent Blindness America, I was their program director for the whole country, and I had a chance to go to the Center for Creative Leadership. And there I experienced visioning for the first time. We worked with change partners who kind of related with us and shared their ideas. We had an artist and a social worker and actress. I mean, everybody worked with us. It was wonderful. And I don't know whether any of you that are listening this evening or later have had that opportunity, but it was absolutely life-changing for me. It was the moment when I went down a new path. And when I went back to work after a week at the center, I realized that my job was no longer compatible with my new vision. And so within a couple months, I quit my job and left everything behind. And then I became a spiritual junkie. And the Center for Creative Leadership. And I had a chance to read a lot of books. And I went to a lot of holistic expos and conferences. I studied many different faiths and tried many different practices. And I'm sure most of you can relate with that too, because that is what, we do when we become searchers. We try everything. We are just looking for truth, and we're trying to find something that feels right. But I was very fearful. Since I had been raised in a fearful environment, I was so afraid that I would be led down the wrong path. I was taught that anything intuitive was like from the dark side. And I was told that anything that was written that wasn't from the King James Version of the Bible, taken literally, was wrong. And so it was very challenging for me to try and find something new, something that touched me and spoke to me in such a way that I felt was appropriate. Well, eventually I was awakened in the middle of the night and I received divine downloads, and my own inner guru came to life. And as a result of that, the blueprint evolved. And it evolved in harmony with my own personal growth. As new information would come in and I would integrate it into my way of being, then more information would come. And I'd always had life experiences that would help me learn exactly what information transpired. But within 6 months, I had the beautiful matrix for the blueprint for the human spirit. And I'd like Kathy to show that to you also. Has everything right there. This is the blueprint, one tiny aspect of it, but you can see it's in a matrix format. And the interesting thing about the blueprint is that it is compatible with ancient teachings and new science, Eastern philosophy, and Western psychology. And not very many paths or concepts, spiritual teachings have all those. And this is very holistic. It includes 5 dimensions: the physical, mental, emotional, intuitive, and spiritual dimensions of life, and 5 fields of existence: the quantum or energetic, personal, social, global, and eternal. And all of this began as a simple mind, body, spirit triangle. And the interesting thing is that with the information, sacred geometry came with the information. So not only is there a matrix and many different matrices which have all kinds of information, but there's these beautiful illustrations, that it's more like a tetrahedron, and I can't even explain it, but it's beautiful and there's energy with it. So thank you, Kathy. So the blueprint has so many features. And the interesting thing is that it offers us the opportunity to look inside, to learn and grow, to discover who we are, and to express that, to embrace the essence of our being, and to find a sense of balance, to find our sense of purpose, and to live more consciously and compassionately. It helps us to bring our thoughts and our beliefs and our behaviors into alignment with the truth of our being, with essence. And certainly that is what it did for me. It gave me a sense of purpose. But again, I was afraid that it wasn't truth. I was afraid that, maybe I was imagining things. I was afraid that it was too far out there, that nobody else would understand it or could even relate to what I was saying. In fact, I kept it to myself, except with my husband. We would go for a walk in the mornings. And when I mentioned that this evolved over about 6 months, the majority of it, every morning for, 3 to 4 mornings a week for 6 months, I received divine downloads. And we'd go for a walk and I'd tell my husband about the latest download, and he'd just be very, oh, sure, And I didn't realize he wasn't quite understanding what I was trying to convey, because he didn't see the diagrams, he didn't see how it was growing, but he just kind of heard about the latest. And a few years later, when I did a workshop about it, and I kind of built that matrix in front of the group, he said, I get it, I see how it all fits together. And that is the beauty of the blueprint. It takes bits and pieces of information that we've learned from many other teachers and puts it together into a comprehensive, complete description of the human experience. It is so, to me, it's overwhelming because there's so much there, and it's been such a powerful experience, but it taught me to love. And one of the things that is a theme throughout the blueprint is love. And I thought I'd focus on love tonight. In fact, I wore something that's a little more red, and I have heart earrings on, because I wanted to really get into the feel of it. And I have a dragonfly because they remind us to let go of illusion and embrace the truth. And certainly that's what we are all trying to do. Well, the blueprint has become my passion and purpose. And I did get sidetracked for a while because I love working with organizations, and I became a professional volunteer. I had about 6 organizations that I worked with here where we live in Naples, Florida. And that kept me from focusing on the blueprint. And eventually the universe said, okay, enough of that. And I ended up with viral thyroiditis, and I was flatlined for 6 months. For someone who's very hyper and energetic and very productive, that was a very low blow, but it's exactly what I needed, because that put me in pause. It made me stop and think exactly what I needed to do. I allowed everything to go and learned to just be still and to be quiet. And it was a gift in many respects. Out of that came my new book. After I felt better and I had my energy back, I asked the universe, what would you like me to do now? Now, I had a computer full of incomplete projects, many of which I just never followed through on because I didn't think they were good enough, or maybe not exciting enough. But I expected to be guided to complete one of them. But no, I was told to write confessions for 40 days. Now, I don't know whether any of you have ever tried to be totally transparent, totally brutally, radically honest or not, but that's what I was called to do. And this 40-day experience was another life-changing experience. I had no idea what would transpire, but I got up and went to my office, lit a candle, sat there in the silence, open, ready, willing, and a word came to me. The very first thing that happened, this word, discipline. And I don't know about you, but I had an intense visceral reaction to the point that I was just overwhelmed. It was like, I don't want anybody telling me what to do or how to do it. I want, to be in charge. I want to do things my way. And all of a sudden, the light bulb went off, and I realized that was my first confession. So I wrote it in my journal, and I sat there for an hour, and out flowed, without any effort on my part, my life experiences with discipline. I was disciplined harshly because my parents thought that they needed to follow church teachings. I mean, I was disciplined for wearing makeup. I was disciplined for going in my bare feet and taking my long stockings off. I was disciplined for saying fart. Yes, I mean, I was disciplined for so many things, and my mother used to put me in the corner and make me stand there. Well, that was the worst thing you could do for somebody who's hyperactive. So, and my father disciplined us a little more harshly, but anyways, discipline and me never got along. But what I realized in my writing was that discipline becomes self-discipline when we integrate it and we learn how to channel our own thoughts and energy. And eventually, when we learn to say no to one thing, we can say yes to something that is more in harmony with what our truth is. We can choose our direction. So discipline actually becomes direction. And in the course of writing that day, I was like, look at what I learned. This is how I have changed. The blueprint has guided me through this process to the point where I could say no to certain things so I could say yes to truth, to the essence of my being. And every day for 40 days, there was a new word and a new outpouring of everything that had happened to me, things that I never shared with anybody else, things that I had suppressed so far down, you know, in my efforts to be and look holy. But in the process, what I realized was that the blueprint had helped release me from what I called the unholy trinity of guilt, shame, and fear. And when I was free of that, then I was free to love and free to be all that I am, free to share the love that I am, free to live my life on purpose, to give of myself, share my talents and time and treasures, and uplift humanity in my own way. So the blueprint has been my teacher, my guide. And in my book, I call the blueprint my divine choreographer, because my book is called The Dance of Ego and Essence, Confessions of a Divine Diva. And it has a beautiful cover. My husband took this picture, and he takes all the pictures in the materials that I provide and on my website. But this is the book that is almost ready to buy. Kathy has helped me in many ways. And so I am so excited to share this. Confessions of a Divine Diva. We're all divas, we're all divine, and we learn how to kind of balance ego and essence, because ego is a part of us and we can't suppress it. In fact, I had a really interesting experience that helped me understand that we're not supposed to totally suppress ego. Now, as the blueprint was evolving, what I learned also was that I was intuitive. And for someone who was very rational and logical about life, who was scientifically trained to think very clearly, having these awarenesses was very foreign to me. And it was hard for me to understand. In fact, I had a few cosmic whacks before I embraced the idea that this information was relevant and true, and I should pay attention. But in the process of learning that I was intuitive, I was guided to share this gift with others through dramatic intuitive healings that I call spiritual blueprinting. And in the process, I become like a mirror. I close my eyes and my body just goes into motion, and I act out in front of you what your higher self wants you to know in this moment. It's very wild and very odd, very fun, enlightening, because there's an experience there. And as people mimic my motions and positions and participate in the process, they experience exactly what they need to learn and what their higher self wants them to become aware of and to make those shifts. So I was in the process of working with a small group, a spiritual study group. There were 4 women. I had done a little intuitive thing after I explained the blueprint to them and asked if they would like to ask a specific question, each one of them. So they did. And one girl who was studying to be a minister said, well, I would like to know how I can eliminate ego. And I mean, I'm in kind of an altered state and sitting quietly and listening, and all of a sudden I'm starting to almost shake and giggle. And I thought, oh, this is awful. How can I be doing this? This woman is so earnest and so sincere, and I'm giggling. And then this voice comes out of me. Oh, you mortals and your egos. If you would just learn to express your divinity through your humanity and embrace and integrate your ego with your essence, then you can fully express the truth of your being. And I was like, wow, where did this come from? Because I never spoke in a funny voice before like that. But that was my part of my experience with the blueprint and with spiritual healings and with how my dance book came to be. So I'm going to take a breath and get a drink, and maybe Kathy has a comment or a question.
Well, I love this work, and I love the empowerment part of it, because when especially reading this book, each time you went through an aspect, it released so much that it gave it enabled me to recapture the energy that I had been stuffing for each one of these confessions. So I think the book is remarkable it's a fun read, but it's also a process. You really do feel different after you read it.
Yes, in fact, when I first was going through this process, after a couple of days, I shared it with a couple of my friends, and they says, oh my goodness, while we were reading your experiences, we remembered our own. You have to share this. Well, I had no intention initially of doing that, because I mean, this is pretty personal stuff. To how far do you have to go? You know, how much do I have to reveal in order to make a difference? But for me, it was so enlightening, because every day I would release more and more, till the point where I was almost euphoric. I was flying because I had let go. And even though I had shifted my awareness to a great degree, there was still some of that there. And I had to almost own up to it in order to release it fully. And that was a powerful part of the exercise. So every day there was something new. And
well,
I'm not
do you find that you still have traces of any of it, or after all this time have you released? when you go back through it, do you go, oh, there's still a little bit of that left?
Well, when I read it, I think what I write, I'm almost in the flow, to the point where I'm not fully tuned in. Sometimes it just emerges, it just flows. And so when I read it, sometimes I'll say, did I write that? And but when I read through, I was reading some of the chapters again today, because I wanted to pick out one to focus on today. And when I was reading a few of them, I thought, oh, wow, you know, look at this. I can't even believe, but I don't feel as if it's still hanging there. I mean, I'm sure there are other levels that could still be cleared, because it is a process. And after I finished the book, then I have done things that are less than conscious. And I've had to own up to those and ask for forgiveness. I mean, because we are human, right? But every time we allow ourselves to be open, and every time that we share the truth of our being and become very transparent, I think it helps to take us one level closer to knowing and being in that perfect place of oneness with all that is. and we
Beautiful.
let it all go. And here we are
Yes.
doing our
Well,
best.
it's a freedom process as well as a opportunity to walk the path with you and then make it relevant, because
Yes.
a lot of processes, you do them, you'll take a class and you'll be given processes, but this somehow it really does release so much. It's amazing.
Yes, it was quite an experience. I mean, I've had quite a few experiences. One other really powerful experience that I had shifted the blueprint from where it was just a more interesting intellectual process to where it became part of me, and I integrated it into my way of being. And I had been working with the blueprint. You mentioned 10 years. It's been more than 25 years since the blueprint started to evolve in 1995. And in 2001, in October, I was sitting on my lanai it was the fall, it was raining, and I went into a meditative state very quickly. And within an hour and a half, I experienced 15 past lives. And when I wrote about that and analyzed a little bit about those people, I realized there was one for each of the major boxes in the blueprint, and each one reflected a shift in consciousness so that the blueprint actually came to life. And I fully understood and fully integrated it much more into my way of being. So it became a heart and a soul experience. And the blueprint was far more than just a chart, or far more than just a lot of words on a page, or even a matrix or diagrams. It came to life in these people. And someday I will write that book, but there's a lot to it. So anyways, I was just so overwhelmed by that experience too. And there've been many more, but the book that I wrote, The Dance of Ego in Essence, is something that I believe can help spiritual seekers really make a shift, because it is a deep soul cleanse, and it, with radical honesty, helps transfer and transform us into a higher state of awareness. And it reminds me a little bit of the Ho'oponopono process from Hawaii, where they start, as you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Well, this starts one step before the I'm sorry. It's like, look what I did. Kind of, these are my life experiences. So you own up to what has transpired in your life and how you reacted to life experiences. And then the process continues. And certainly it is very similar to the 12-step program. I was a part of a mastermind group for quite a while, and I thank my friends and spiritual mothers and sisters who were part of that group, because they ensured that I didn't just hang on to old stuff, and that I didn't play the victim when things happened. And I learned a lot from them and from other people that I've met on this wonderful life experience. So, yes. Are there any questions that have come through that I might address at this moment? And if not, we'll continue.
Pamela, I don't see any questions right now. There's been, some good conversation, and
Good.
I understand you're going to have a process, so I don't know if you want to go to that now or if that's later.
Sure. Well, let's go
Whatever you
for it.
decide is
Let's go
absolutely
for it.
perfect.
First, I thought I would read a chapter from the book. And since we're talking about love, I thought I would read a chapter that is called From Animosity to Unconditional Love. So if you'll bear with me, there is always a quote at the beginning of the chapter, but I'm going to talk first. When the word animosity came to me, my confession was, I have struggled to be good enough to deserve love and have mistaken attraction and mutual interest for love. So I didn't even know what love was. So although I have felt loved as a child, I do not remember my parents saying, I love you. We were not coddled, pampered, or praised. I also do not remember receiving heartwarming hugs. Mother is so reserved, she usually puts her hands on your shoulders to keep you away when you try to get close. Dad always managed to get past her defenses. When he came home or left the house, he made a beeline for Mother, playfully teasing and kissing her despite her objections. However, Dad did not hug or show affection to my sisters and me. Mother surprised me one day when she described how she felt when she discovered that she was pregnant with me. She cried because she loved my older sister so much that she did not know how she would find enough space in her heart or enough love to give to a second child. Well, she must have discovered an infinite supply because she had 5 children. I was working as a nursing assistant the summer when I got engaged the first time. While making a patient's bed with an orderly, I told him about my plans and that I would be getting married before I went back to college in 6 weeks. When he asked if I loved my fiance, I listed all the reasons why we were getting married and why getting married made sense. We were both students at the University of Pittsburgh. His GI benefits would increase after we got married. We would be able to save on rent if we lived together. My work partner stopped me and said, "But do you love him?" I don't remember what I said or how I felt at the time. I'm sure I thought I was in love, but at 19, I had no idea what love was. Whatever we felt for each other was obviously not enough because the marriage fizzled after a few years. My ex had no time for me and did not seem interested or supportive of my activities. He was a medical student and was either on call, studying, or sleeping. After we divorced, I spent 10 years as single between marriages, and I dated a lot of bar slugs. I certainly was looking for love in all the wrong places. And they were all attractive, but lacking in substance. Maybe not financially, but certainly in character. Perhaps at the time, I was as shallow and superficial as they were and not ready for a deep relationship. But fortunately, the universe blessed me with an ideal mate the second time around, my husband, Jim. He's with us tonight. And he's a handsome, successful, compassionate, and passionate man who adores me. I have a partner who accepts the changes that are occurring within me on my spiritual quest. He does not mind being the straight man when I give humorous spiritual talks and willingly schleps all the stuff I need for my performances and presentations. I might also just add here that when I was just so elated that I knew what my higher purpose was, I asked Jim if he knew why he was here. And he surprised me because he was retired and he was hitting a little white ball around, on the golf course. And he said, "Yes, I am here to support you so you can fulfill your higher purpose." And I thought, what a man. Oh my gosh, I am so blessed and I love him dearly. Well, several years ago, back to the script here, we had dinner at a Chinese restaurant. And while waiting for the check, I eagerly broke my fortune cookie in two and read the message aloud. It stated something about being involved in a love triangle. And immediately I denied this and said, this one must be yours because I'm not having an affair. Are you? And my husband, with all his wisdom, replied, no, it's you, me and God, and I know where I stand. So don't you just love a man who knows his place? Well, over the years, I have learned that love is far more than physical attraction and romance. I have deep connections with my soul sisters and spiritual mothers and brothers. I also feel an instant link with creative people. Soon after I remarried, and very early in my spiritual path, while a newbie on my sacred journey, I was concerned about the instant bonds that I felt toward other creative spirits, including members of the opposite sex. But I discovered that the energetic connection was at a deeper spiritual level and not romantic attractions. But I didn't understand that at first. We cannot genuinely love another unless we love ourselves. Unless we open our hearts and know our wholeness, we are not able to let others close enough to know how oneness feels. When we finally open, we become vulnerable to potential pain of separation and rejection. This became truly clear as I helped clients heal relationships or close cracks with crazy glue and laughter. We symbolically healed the heart. We even used imaginary lasers to heal damaged tissues. The results were all the same. Wounds from the past can only be transformed by divine love. The pain melts away and we are free to love again. I've also learned through healings that relationships, even the most positive and fulfilling ones, are only a taste of what we truly desire and experience when we know oneness. Those who search for a partner and insist their soulmate is waiting for them often receive guidance that what they truly crave is union with God, Source, their higher self. Obviously, having a soulmate is a wonderful thing, and a relationship with a spouse is an amazing gift. However, we can become sidetracked in the physical domain on our quest for the real thing. I learned from the blueprint and life experiences that divine love far exceeds physical attraction. When ego and all its insecurities fade into the background, essence expresses as love. It is so profound that what we sense on the outside no longer exists. We look with eyes of pure love and see the divine in the mirror and in others. Only then are our hearts open wide enough for love to pour forth and fill up the entire universe. On our spiritual quest, we also discover that heart trumps head. We learned that the intellect and ability to understand will only take us so far. With an open heart, we no longer need laws. The 10 Commandments become irrelevant because we could never cheat or steal or lie or hurt another person. We would treat all with kindness and compassion. We would always observe Sabbath, the day of rest, because we would honor ourselves and provide necessary downtime. Every moment would be holy, as we always put God first. We would also never take the Lord's name in vain. Since I am is the name of God, we would never diminish ourselves by saying, I am stupid, I am unworthy, I am weak. When the heart is open, we can fully embrace that which we are, essence, pure spirit, and pure love. And we will see and honor all others as the same. Namaste. At the end of my writing, I wrote an affirmation. I am essence expressing that which is pure love and generously share it with everyone who crosses my path. So that is love, and how we learn and grow. And I'm sure all of us have had different experiences, but I think we all have to come to the realization that we are lovable, that we are beloved, that we are capable of being and showing up as love. And that was a powerful day. So, excuse me.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you wanted to do an exercise with this?
Yes. So I assume everybody has access to a piece of paper, just a plain old piece of paper. Or so what I would like you to do is to just get it out, get a pen or pencil. And after listening to that, what I want you to do is to write first on one side of the paper, write your own confession about animosity and how that has been a part of your past, per se. And once again, I will read what I wrote in case you'd like a reminder of something that might help you. My confession was, I have struggled to be good enough to deserve love, and I have mistaken attraction and mutual interests for love. So think about your past and how your perhaps lack of understanding about love or your animosity toward someone or others may have impacted you. What is your confession? And then just take a few more minutes and just write a couple of things, a couple of experiences that reflect that confession, things that pop to the surface about how you may have had animosity toward another person, how you may have had difficulty loving yourself and for whatever reason, or accepting yourself, or any limitations that you may have felt, anytime you have felt that you were criticized or limited in some way. And just write a couple phrases or just a couple lines about what you recall from the past, or even something that you've experienced recently. If I thought I would have provided some background music, but so just a couple phrases just to remind you of what we'll do this in a minute. We'll share a little bit later. So now I would like us to pause for a moment. And this exercise is actually part of a companion journal called Embrace Your Divine Inner Diva. And it begins with writing your own confession and journaling. And Kathy is going to just show you a picture of it. It is available on my website, Embrace Your Divine Inner Diva. So it can stand alone, or it can be a companion journal, because I think it can help you if you really are sincere about bringing forth your own experiences and freeing yourself and finding the joy and experiencing some perhaps euphoria like I did from this experience. But Embrace Your Divine Inner Diva. So it begins with writing your confession and journaling your own life experiences. And then there's a meditation. So I would like to read the meditation that came to me. This was also downloaded, so to speak, about from animosity to unconditional love. So if you will go with me into this meditation, take a deep breath and exhale. Sink comfortably into your chair and feel yourself embraced by a loving presence. Allow my words about love to be those of your own. I am beloved and loving. I am in essence expressing all that love is. I am most grateful for the gift of love that I receive so generously from the universe, from Source, others, and myself. For the ability to joyfully share my gifts with others, I am also grateful. I may never fully understand what love is because it takes many forms, but I feel deeply connected with others. I feel love and compassion bubbling up from within and overflowing into the entire universe. I know that with one act of kindness or one expression of love, I can transform the world. Instead of withholding love, I bring it forth and let it flow. I know that as I release positive energy, it multiplies. It expands exponentially, shifting the consciousness of the world. I am an ambassador of love. I am love itself. As I look into the eyes of others and into my own eyes in the mirror, I see essence expressing as pure love. This is the truth of my being, and so it is. Take a deep breath and come back. Now, there's one other part of the journal. It's the fun part, and it's the experiential part that I think makes it all come together, because we can hear things and we can read things. And of course, that involves our mind and our hearts. But once we experience it, once we put it into action, then it makes all the more difference in the world. So the exercise that goes with unconditional love and this particular chapter is to create a Valentine for yourself. So whatever paper you were writing on, just fold it in half. Fold it in half. Put your words on the inside. And then I want you to tear it into the shape of a heart. So just kind of make a little heart shape here. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but just make yourself a heart. There you go, open it up. And on the other side, on the inside, you may have written your confession and affirmation. On the other side, I want you to write a Valentine note to yourself. A little poem if you wish, or who knows, but just write to yourself a note about love, because it starts in here. We can't love others if we don't love ourselves. So write yourself a little Valentine. Okay, did everybody write themselves a Valentine? Okay, I think now is time to share. Shall we open up the channels and put
Yes.
everybody's mic on and everybody's
Videos
videos
are
on?
allowed
Put your videos
now.
on. Yes, let
And-
us see
And please show
everybody.
yourself and join us.
Did
Let's
you make your hearts? Hold up your hearts.
mine's little,
Everybody, come
little
on.
goofy thing.
Look, oh yes, you have a little
It was a post-it note.
Post-it note heart. Yes, okay, we got hearts. Everybody has a heart.
Okay,
Okay,
who wants to share?
yes,
Does Jim want to share?
my husband, darling, would you like to share? Jim, can you unmute yourself?
I asked him to. Here we go.
Okay,
There I am. What would you
Hi.
like me to share?
did you make your
Valentine.
Valentine
Well,
to yourself?
I'm not very artistic.
That's okay. Did you write something?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I would like to be more compassionate.
Okay, yes, very honest. Thank you, darling.
Perfect.
Anybody else want to share what they wrote to themselves? You have to unmute.
I'm trying to unmute people, but
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't really a lot of time.
No.
I did get a heart made.
yeah.
So it says, Valentine, I love when you laugh. It fuels my soul. I love how you seek the truth. And then I had some more to write, but I'm going to have to finish my Valentine
That's
later.
okay. Perfect. Beautiful.
Perfect.
Who else
Good
would like to
one.
share their Valentine?
It looks like Bill and Talia are open.
Linda's
Bill,
got
you like
one.
it?
Yeah, I've got one here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's short. It says generous, giving, caring, genius. I love you for your presence and gifts to humanity.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Wow, how'd you get all that?
Yes.
In a little bit of time.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. Who
Perfect,
else?
Bill.
But they don't all start with the same letter, Bill.
I know I couldn't. I was working on a fourth G word, but anyway, it didn't work out.
Didn't come
But
forth.
we'll figure
That's
it
all
out
right.
later. Thank you.
Anyone else? Tell us how
Talia?
you love yourself.
Talia?
I know
Well-
Flo is driving, so that's probably not good for her. Okay, Talia, what do you got?
Well, I got a pair of angel wings.
You
Yeah.
did. Hey, that's good.
I didn't realize it until I finished it.
Opened it
Oh,
up.
because and there's two. Well, anyway, this one is the one.
Give one to Dave.
Yeah, I'll give one to Dave. He got a little shy about this.
Oh,
Oh, that's okay.
So yeah, maybe I'll give him this and he can fill out this part, his own. But the two words that came to me was compassion and kindness.
beautiful.
And I didn't really have time. I mean, I was having a hard time with this heart that turned into angel wings, so it took me a little while. But I will accept. And the word, and oh, the other word that came to me is beloved.
Mm,
You are beloved. Yes.
oh,
Awesome, Talia.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Anybody else want to share? Let's see, who else do we have here?
we've got Linda
Anybody?
and Olivia.
Hey,
Linda,
off
I think I saw
mute.
your heart.
Hi, Linda.
Have to
We
unmute.
can't get to you have to unmute yourself, dear. There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah. So my heart.
Nice heart.
That's a nice big
Good.
heart.
Yeah, it kind of needs a little bit of
Tweaking.
down. Yeah. So you are a beautiful and beloved soul that longs to be expressed.
Beautiful.
Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful messages relevant to everybody. Yes. Who else would like to share?
Olivia, would you like to share? Okay, let's see how.
Okay,
There you go.
this is my Valentine.
All right.
A little bit lopsided, but Valentine, I love your determination to retreat and write, surrounded by beauty and silence.
Beautiful.
Oh, who else would like to share? Bob, did you write a Valentine?
Bob, or he had to drop off. I think he has to tend to the
Oh, okay.
dog.
To
I
the-
just want to mention, Olivia will be our guest next week.
Oh, great.
Is
Cool.
bringing she and I think it's Elizabeth Valentine of
Right.
Valentine.
Sunray organization. So we'll talk about that later. I don't want to interrupt this process here. What about
Okay.
Peter? Did he do something?
I don't know. I'm trying to get him.
And flow.
Flo's
Flo's
driving.
driving.
And
So
what about
How about
Yvonne?
Vonnie? Vonnie is a friend. Unmute, Vonnie. Are you there, my dear?
And we
Did you make your ballot?
There, we
Can't hear
we
you.
did it. We did it. Hi. Unmute.
Can't hear you.
We need you to unmute again. Thank you.
Okay, I was saying that I think I'll have to stay after class. I got distracted. I didn't do it. But I love your content. Such beautiful, heartfelt work and inspiration, actually. Inspiration, not work, is probably a better way to put it. So thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Anybody else? Vonnie, are you there? You want to share?
Noel, were you gonna, did you show your heart? Show your heart again.
Oh,
me?
Yeah.
That's my heart.
That's good. It's so sweet.
You.
so I wrote, you are love. Show up every day as you, as love. I love you. And I would also like to share a love poem that I wrote. I have a whole collection of poetry called Inner Nature. I've never published it, but when my husband and I were traveling years ago, and my whole being was opening, and I was learning about the symbolism in everything that I saw, we would be outside in nature, and he would be taking his beautiful pictures, which there are many that I have been able to use in my work to share the blueprint. And I would write poetry while he was taking pictures. So there were a lot of things that, fit together. So that's another book that we need to do together. But my parents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary in 2000. And I wrote a poem for me. It flowed in a matter of just a couple of minutes. And it's called A Love for All Seasons. Fresh as spring rain, your love awakens me. Warm as summer breeze, your love embraces me. Radiant as fall leaves, your love excites me. Soft as winter snow, your love comforts me. Seasons come and go, your love sustains me. And that was a gift that I wrote for my parents for their 50th.
Beautiful.
Absolutely marvelous.
Were your parents ever able to say, I love you to you?
My mother does now. And I think she's 90. She celebrated her 90th birthday in September, and we were there had a big family gathering. And she has lived with us for 3 seasons, 3 winters. She's no longer can be alone. She has dementia. But when she first came, because I think of this religious suppression, and her cup was always half empty. And every day I told her how much I loved her and how much I appreciated this time with her. And we'd walk together and I'd point out the beauty around us. And within a couple of weeks, she made a huge shift. I don't think she'd ever heard those things over and again, to the point where she was able to know them and feel them. And now, I mean, she made a huge change. And now she says, I love you all the time. And I try to call her every day when she's not with me. She spends 6 months here in Florida during the winters and 6 months in Pennsylvania with my older sister during the summers. And when I call her every day, she thanks me for calling her and tells me how much she loves me. And so she's made a huge shift too. And I feel so blessed.
That's awesome. You know, I'm also from a large family, and very large. And we had an I love you intervention with my mother when we said, because growing up, you know, she never said I love you.
Mhm.
And she said she didn't believe in lip service. And that was saying, you know, by giving kisses or hugs or whatever, she said, you know, I love you. You know, that was her. And she was very, very Catholic and you know, so we just asked her, we just said, why don't you ever say you love us? We know you do. So what's the deal? So we just confronted her about it, and she just thought about it. And then she said, she just couldn't come up with any reason, but you know, she grew up in the Depression, the Dust Bowl. Her mother died when she was 13. You know, she didn't have that herself.
Right.
And, you know, although I know she was wonderful, joyful, fun. You would just fall in love with my mother. But I said, you know, I know you love me, but it's still nice to hear. And so at, you know, age 70 or something, she started to say it, or maybe she said, oh, it's that kid. I guess I better say I love you. But, you know,
Yes.
it's something that, you know, and to think about, you know, I just noticed your poem where you said, I love you to yourself. And I didn't put that on I did say I love you when you X. I made it conditional. I gave myself conditional love. Oh boy. I'll turn it back to you.
Isn't that? Yes. Well, I think little exercises like this can just, first of all, they're fun. And it brings home exactly what we think and experience. We can, you know, turn it into something joyful. And that is what my life work is all about. I call myself a spiritual humorist and try to tell funny stories and lighten things, because I think we're very serious. And when I first started on my spiritual journey, I was very serious. And so now I try to bring a little lightness and humor. In fact, I wrote a whole series of funny little stories, Enlighten Up series. And in fact, I wrote one for my husband, and it's called Real Men Don't Need Hair. But, and of course, other less silly things. but I do feel that we need a little lightness today. There's so much fear, and there's so much negativity. And the more lightness and love that we can bring into the world right now, I think makes a positive difference. So I'm trying to do that. And I don't mean to diminish what certain people are experiencing, because it is very difficult. But at the same time, I think we need lightness. And one thing that this book does, it clears out enough crap, so to speak, that we can lighten up a lot more than what we have ever been in the past. So I hope you'll find this interesting and fun and joyful, as well as a beautiful deep soul cleanse that we all can use. So are there any questions from the group here? Anybody have comments? Anybody have a question about the blueprint or my spiritual blueprinting intuitive healings or
Yes,
whatever?
I do,
Yes.
but I'll yield the field to anybody else. Just
I
go ahead,
wanted- yeah,
Bill.
Bill, I wanted to make a comment about the, I'll call it the before part of this exercise rather than the after part. Because it gave me an opportunity to really come to grips with, so what are the causes, or what are the issues, what are the dimensions or the dynamics of what has led me to hold resentments or animosity toward people. And so what I wrote down on a very small piece of paper is, for me, was very instructive. And it had to do with people, some fellows in my life who have constantly undermined and belittled others and not let them be themselves. And they, that was directed at me, but it's pathological with them. That is, they coat things in sarcasm. It's always cutting people down and always making them less, etc. And in both cases, these are people who are just masking their own insecurity by doing that.
Very ego. That's what ego does, diminishes other people to make them feel bigger and better. Interesting.
Phew.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that word sarcasm, I used to think I was told I was just very sarcastic. And then somebody told me one time, said, sarcasm kills. And it just like,
Wow.
and I went, ouch. And it just like
diminished it.
completely, changed. And when you think about it, yeah, because, in that large family, there was a lot of sarcasm. That was kind of like our backhanded compliments, we would call it, or whatever, but they were just really, sarcastic remarks. And it was just this.
Yes, you look so much better in that other outfit. Stuff like that. If you'd only do it, something, yeah.
Yeah, your butt isn't as big as it used to be.
Anybody else have a thought to share or a question about the book? Yes, Thalia.
Yes, I just feel like it'd be really good if you could come to our Co-Creators Convergence in October and bring copies of your book, and we could, and either you or your book should be there, or both. Preferably
Well,
both.
we'll have to see if that's possible. I have a full plate, and I'm a caregiver as well as trying to share the blueprint. But thank you for that invite, and I would love to do that at some point. Yes, we'll see if that can happen. Thank you.
And also, I just wanted to mention today is, or this week is Orange Shirt Day. which I can call yours orange and
Oh,
mine
close enough.
orange, and yours, Noel, you've got a shoulder there. And you've got, Olivia has got some orange. I don't know, maybe somebody else does too, hiding there. Oh, look at there. Kathy has some, but it's
There's a
in
day
honor-
for everything.
That's, well, the thing is that it's let's see, every child matters, and it's in honor of the Indigenous residential school survivors
Oh,
in Canada. And I think, you know, any of us could have been in that situation
yes.
we've been involved in. But my daughter has recently moved to Canada and is giving me books and told me about it. And so I just honor the Canadians for coming to the, let's see, awareness and reconciliation or trust and reconciliation day, to focus this understanding. I mean, it's something that all of us could do in this country as well.
Yes.
So
Well, I think, Noelle, did you have a question, or do we need to wrap things up?
Linda has
Linda.
one.
So I came late, so I have to apologize. But what my question has to do with is you've spoken about 2 different books. So, or at least I'm thinking 2 different processes. I'm not sure. But the Divine Blueprint that you've talked about is a book?
No, it is my life work. It is
Okay.
the body of information that guides me, that I write about, that it guides the healing work. It is the content that I convey in workshops and writings, and yes.
Okay, so the book that you wrote is The Ego in Essence.
That's one of them, yes. Now, I do have a book. If you are not on my, haven't gone to my website, drpamelagerali.com, you can sign up to get a free booklet about the blueprint and it's called The Blueprint for Conscious Compassionate Living. So that gives you a little bit of more insight, and it has some beautiful pictures that my husband took in here. And so it'll give you a little more insight into the blueprint.
So Linda, there is a free way. There are several places where you can get the blueprint for free. And then the more, as time goes, we'll have more and more information that'll help give you pieces of it. But the book gives you a big overview of how to use it and what it can do for you. And then the journal is when it's like a self-study. It's a downloadable, like a planner, but it's 40 days of you doing the work yourself. So, and you'll know if that's for you. You'll know it's powerful work.
Sounds pretty fascinating.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, it's always interesting to understand or to know. I think we have an intuitive knowing that there's a divine blueprint, and then the unfolding of that is always kind of a mysterious process. So
Yes.
absolutely.
Well, I feel like it brings together all the pieces of the puzzle into one beautiful synergistic whole. And there's so much to it because there's synergy in the rows and in the columns. And, you know, it all comes together beautifully to reveal how we evolve spiritually from victims where things happen to us, to where we use ego effort to make things happen, sometimes successfully, some not, to where we become a vessel and things flow through us and with us until we are able to show up as the presence of God, so to speak, as the hands, heart, and the voice of God. So the blueprint really reveals that in beautiful harmony.
Oh.
Thank you. That's really pretty. Thank you.
The other thing I'd like to share is and I don't know that I can explain it, it's experiential, but this is a clearing process that opens you up so that more of your self-love and more of your divine knowing can fit in your vessel. So it's amazing, actually. But it's not just a mental exercise, it's a release, heart opening.
Thank you.
Well, I
Noel,
want to thank everyone. Kathy, thank you, for bringing us so many wonderful guests. And thank you, Pamela Gerali, Dr. Pamela Gerali. I love your smile. You're just radiant. And thank you for sharing your journey. I was lucky enough to be able to review the book, and I highly recommend it. And I love how you open each chapter, tell your story, and then tie it all up with a beautiful affirmation. I'd buy the book just for the affirmations after each, the 40 affirmations are just phenomenal. But I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. So thank you, everyone. And you can unmute and send some love. Thank you so much.
Mwah.
Thank
Wonderful
you,
evening.
Pamela. Thank you.
Join us next week when our co-creative conversation is with Elizabeth Valentine and Olivia Cheever, discussing one way to embody peace. October 7th. We'll see you then.